The rain hammered against the metal roofs of Outpost 39, turning the abandoned mining camp into a field of echoing noise. Captain Rian Hale paused at the edge of the landing platform, his breath fogging in the cold air. He had heard many strange sounds during his patrols on this broken moon, but tonight's sound was different. It wasn't thunder. It wasn't machinery. It was something falling, something crashing. Then he heard it again, a sharp, slicing boom that tore the silence apart. Rian snapped on his helmet light and moved toward the sound. The ground trembled under his boots. Dust drifted down from the cliffs above. He raised his rifle, not in fear, but in instinct. Humans had survived this moon by expecting danger at every corner. A faint glow flickered behind a row of broken cargo containers. Rian stepped closer and froze. There, lying in the mud, was a girl. Not human, not fully alien. Something in between. She was curled into herself, shivering uncontrollably. Her skin was pale silver like moonlight. Her hair, long, tangled, glowing faint blue, spread around her like liquid light. She had no clothes, no device, no badge, nothing that showed where she came from. Only a thin bracelet on her wrist, cracked and sparking. Rian knelt beside her. "Hey, can you hear me?" The girl lifted her head slowly, eyes glowing with a soft violet shine. There was terror in them, deep terror. "Do you know your name?" he asked gently. She stared at him, confused. Then she shook her head. She couldn't speak, or she didn't remember how. Lightning flashed above them, revealing the wreckage of a small pod behind her. Its metal was scorched. Its engines melted. It had clearly fallen from orbit and crashed hard. Rian scanned the area. No tracks. No rescue team. No signal beacon. She was alone. The girl tried to move, but pain shot through her body. She collapsed again, whimpering softly. Her bracelet blinked red, each blink slower than the last, like a dying heartbeat. Rian knew one thing. Whoever she was, whatever she was, she needed help. And someone else might be coming for her. Someone who didn't plan to help. He reached into his emergency pack, pulling out a thermal blanket. He wrapped it around her tiny shaking form. She looked at him with wide, uncertain eyes, as if trying to decide whether he was a threat or a miracle. "It's okay," he whispered. "You're safe now. I've got you." But even as he said the words, the ground vibrated again. This time not from thunder, but from engines. A deep, metallic roar echoed across the valley. Rian looked up sharply. 3 dark shapes appeared in the storm clouds, sleek, sharp ships with crimson lights cutting through the night. They weren't human, and they weren't peaceful. They were hunting something, most likely her. Rian lifted the girl into his arms. She clung weakly to his jacket, her cold fingers trembling. The ships split apart, scanning beams sweeping the landscape. They were methodical, professional. They weren't searching for wreckage. They were searching for a living target. Rian's pulse quickened, but his mind stayed sharp. He didn't know who this girl was. He didn't know where she came from. He didn't know why she fell from the sky with no memory, no name, and no protection. But he knew one thing with absolute clarity. If those ships found her, she wouldn't survive. "Hold on," he said, gripping her tighter. "No one touches someone under my protection." And with the storm raging around him and enemy lights sweeping closer, Captain Rian Hale ran into the darkness, carrying the mysterious girl who had fallen from the stars. Captain Rian Hale didn't stop running until the outpost buildings swallowed him and the girl into the shadows. The rain hit his visor like needles. The girl clung to him with weak, frightened hands. Every few seconds, she glanced over his shoulder, trembling at the distant roar of the ships. She didn't remember who she was, but her fear of those hunters was something buried deep in her bones. Rian reached an old service tunnel near the generator room. He kicked the rusted hatch, forcing it open. The stale smell of dust and cold metal drifted out. "This way," he whispered. He carried her inside, lowering her gently against a wall of pipes. She looked exhausted, barely awake. Her glowing eyes flickered like fading lanterns. He scanned her bracelet again. It was alien tech, nothing like the species Earth had officially met. The cracked surface pulsed with strange symbols, looping endlessly as if stuck in a warning cycle. "What did you escape from?" Rian muttered. Before he could check further, a blinding flash lit the hallway behind him. A search beam. The enemy ships had arrived, fast. Rian dropped to one knee, blocking the girl with his body. Heavy footsteps echoed from above the tunnel grate. Dark silhouettes moved through the storm, scanning every corner with cold precision. He could hear their voices, harsh, metallic, processed through helmets. Target life sign detected. Crash zone confirmed. Begin sweep. Rian's jaw tightened. They were close. Too close. He whispered to the girl, "Stay quiet. Don't make a sound." She nodded, pulling the blanket tighter around herself. Her tiny body shook, not from the cold, but from memories her mind refused to surface. Rian pulled out a small EMP puck from his belt. Old human tech. Not fancy, not elegant, but humans made things that worked. He rolled it toward the grate above. A sharp pulse erupted. Silent, invisible, but powerful. The lights of the hunters flickered. One shouted, "Interference! Someone is." The rest was swallowed by static as their scanners died. Rian grabbed the girl's hand. "We have 5 seconds. Move." They hurried deeper into the tunnel. Pipes rattled overhead as the hunters rebooted their gear. The tunnel opened into a forgotten sub-bay, filled with old mining vehicles covered in dust. The girl stumbled, almost falling. Rian caught her. She tried to speak. Her voice came out soft, broken. "Why are they coming for me?" Rian shook his head. "I don't know, but I'm not letting them take you." Suddenly, a low hum filled the room. The girl's bracelet glowed bright, brighter than before, casting patterns across the walls. Rian stepped back, startled. The symbols shifted, rearranging themselves into something new. A map. A holographic map of the moon's surface. The girl gasped. She didn't recognize it, yet her fingers reached out instinctively, tracing a point far from their location. As she touched it, the hologram zoomed in, revealing a hidden structure deep beneath the northern cliffs. "What is that?" Rian whispered. The girl looked at him with wide, confused eyes. "I don't know, but I feel it. Something is there. Something important." Before Rian could respond, the metallic thud of boots echoed through the tunnel entrance. Shadows moved fast, spreading out. "They're inside," Rian said. "We need a diversion." He ran to a dusty mining hauler, slammed his fist into the dashboard, and hot-wired the ignition. The machine roared to life. Lights flickered. Gears groaned. He locked the controls, pointed it toward the far exit, and hit the release lever. The hauler shot forward like a metal beast, smashing through crates and walls. Shouts erupted behind them. The hunters turned, weapons drawn. Rian didn't wait. He lifted the girl again, her faint glow lighting the path ahead. "Hold on," he whispered. They slipped through a maintenance shaft just as the hauler detonated in a burst of sparks and smoke, filling the bay with chaos, confusion, and the fury of collapsing metal. Behind them, the hunters roared. But ahead of them was only darkness and the unknown. The maintenance shaft twisted downward like a metal throat. Captain Rian Hale moved fast, boots clanging softly against the old ladder rungs. He carried the girl carefully, one arm bracing her weight, the other guiding them through the dark. The air was colder here, older, like this part of the outpost had been abandoned long before humans arrived. The girl's breathing was slow, but her eyes remained open, glowing faint violet in the darkness. Every few steps, she winced, as if something behind her eyes hurt. "Stay with me," Rian whispered. "We're almost clear of them." But she wasn't listening. She stared at the walls with a strange curiosity. Actually fear. "Something down here," she whispered. Rian paused. "Something dangerous?" She hesitated. "I don't know. I just feel it." Her voice shook, but not like someone afraid. More like someone who sensed a memory, but didn't know if it belonged to her. Rian continued downward. Above them, the hunters tore apart the sub-bay, the vibrations echoing through the pipes. But the deeper they went, the softer the noise became, swallowed by the moon's forgotten underbelly. At the bottom of the shaft, Rian kicked open a service door. It groaned loudly, sending dust into the air. The hallway beyond was massive, filled with long-dead equipment and rusted tracks. Old mining lights flickered weakly, as if waking from years of sleep. "What is this place?" the girl whispered. "Original tunnels," Rian said. "Built by the first settlers. Shut down decades ago." The girl touched the wall. The moment her fingers brushed the metal, her bracelet flared to life. Rian stepped back, startled as a pulse of pale blue light shot down the corridor, scanning the space like a living wave. The girl gasped and pulled her hand away. Rian stared. Her bracelet wasn't just technology. It was connected to something here. "What did you do?" Rian asked, She shook her head quickly. I didn't do anything. It acted by itself. Before he could question further, the ground beneath them vibrated. This time not from hunters, not from ships, but from something deep within the mine. A heavy metallic groan echoed through the tunnel, like a machine waking up after a long sleep. Rian raised his rifle. Move. Stay behind me. But the girl didn't move. She stared at the darkness ahead, eyes wide, whispering words she didn't understand. I've been here before. Rian froze. Her voice wasn't confused that time. It was certain, cold, almost like another person inside her had spoken. Are you remembering something? He asked. She hugged her arms around herself. I don't know if it's a memory or something someone put inside me. Before Rian could respond, a sudden blast of air shot through the corridor. Dust swirled upward. Old cables snapped. The lights flickered violently. Then a roar. Not human. Not alien. Something mechanical. Huge. Deep. Angry. Rian crouched low. Move back. A shadow emerged from the far end of the tunnel. Heavy footsteps sent vibrations through the floor. An enormous mining sentinel, an ancient automated machine, dragged itself into the light. Its eyes burned red, flickering with corrupted code. That's impossible, Rian whispered. These things were shut down 20 years ago. The sentinel scanners locked onto them. Unauthorized presence detected. Rian aimed his rifle, but the girl stepped forward. Wait. No, he shouted, grabbing her arm. But the moment the sentinel saw her, its glowing red eyes changed, shifting to pale blue, the same color as her bracelet. It recognized her. Rian's heart pounded. What does it want? The girl swallowed hard. I think I can stop it. She raised her hand. The sentinel froze. Lights inside its frame shifted. Panels slid open. A holographic interface activated. But the girl wasn't controlling it. The machine was controlling her. She winced, grabbing her head as symbols flashed in front of her eyes. Rian grabbed her shoulders. Break away. Listen to me. Focus on my voice. The machine roared again, louder this time, as if trying to push into her mind. The girl cried out, dropping to her knees. It's showing me something. Images, people, lights, screaming, falling. Rian lifted her into his arms. That's enough. I'm shutting this thing down. The machine lurched forward, red lights returning, rage burning through corrupted AI. Rian planted his boots, aimed his rifle at the coolant lines along its neck, and fired in rapid bursts. Metal shrieked. Blue coolant sprayed. The sentinel staggered back, sparks bursting from its frame. Rian didn't stop until the giant machine collapsed with a deafening crash. Silence filled the tunnel. The girl trembled in his arms, tears in her glowing eyes. You saved me, she whispered. But Rian shook his head. No. Someone built you to control these machines. Someone gave you memories that aren't yours. She looked up at him, terrified, not of the machine, but of herself. Then who am I? Rian didn't have the answer. But he knew one thing. Whatever she was, whoever created her, was far more dangerous than the hunters outside. And they were getting closer every minute. The echoes of the destroyed sentinel faded slowly, swallowed by the deep tunnels. Captain Rian Hale scanned the shadows, breathing hard, rifle still raised. The giant machine lay motionless, broken metal, leaking coolant, sparks fading into the dust. But the girl, she wasn't looking at the sentinel. She was staring at her own hands. Her fingers trembled, glowing faintly with a soft blue pulse. It wasn't just her bracelet anymore. It was her. Rian knelt beside her. Talk to me. What happened back there? She shook her head, hugging herself. When the machine looked at me, something inside me opened. Something old. Something I didn't ask for. Her voice cracked. It felt like a command. Rian frowned. A command? From who? I don't know. But it wasn't a memory. It was like someone else's voice inside my head. Rian placed a hand on her shoulder. You're not controlled. You chose to break free from that machine. Remember that. But she didn't look convinced. Before he could say more, her bracelet pulsed again. Once. Twice. Then rapidly, like a heartbeat in panic. A hologram burst into the air, flickering wildly. It was a symbol Rian had never seen. 3 circles connected by a jagged line. The girl whispered, terrified. That symbol, it feels familiar. But I don't know why. Rian studied it carefully. It's a transmission frequency. Someone is trying to reach you. The hologram shifted, and a low hum filled the tunnel. The girl covered her ears, overwhelmed, But the sound wasn't loud. It was felt more than heard. Then came the voice. A distorted whisper. Metallic. Cold. Subject found. Signal confirmed. Retrieval in progress. The girl gasped. No, no, please, stop. She grabbed her head as if fighting something inside her. Rian wrapped his arms around her, steadying her. Hey, look at me. You're here. You're real. You're not going with them. The hologram flickered again, showing coordinates on the moon's northern ridge. The same location the girl had instinctively pointed to earlier. Rian narrowed his eyes. That place, whatever's there, it's connected to you. She looked up at him, tears in her glowing eyes. Do we go there? Is that the only way to stop them? Rian hesitated. He hated the idea of running straight toward danger. But staying here meant the hunters would eventually corner them. And the girl's bracelet was acting like a beacon. They would follow her signal no matter where she hid. He made his choice. We go, he said. But we move fast. He lifted her gently, but before they reached the tunnel exit, a distant rumble shook the ground. Rian froze. That wasn't the hunters. He recognized that sound. Deep, rolling, rhythmic. Dropships. Multiple. The girl clung to him. They found us. No, Rian said, eyes narrowing. This sound is bigger. Heavier. That's not a search team. That's an invasion pattern. He ran toward an emergency lift at the end of the tunnel. The lift groaned as it moved upward, ancient machinery struggling. Rian. The girl whispered suddenly, staring upward through the cage bars. There's something wrong with the sky. The lift reached the surface. Rian turned and froze. The storm clouds were glowing red. Massive circular openings pulsed in the sky, and dozens, maybe hundreds, of alien warships descended like metal spears. Their crimson lights sliced across the outpost, scanning everything. But they weren't scanning for life. They were scanning for her signal. The girl covered her mouth, horrified. They want me. But Rian shook his head. No, they want what you were made for. She backed away, terrified. Made for? He tightened his grip on his rifle. Whoever built you didn't make a child. They made a key. Her eyes widened. A key to what? Rian looked toward the northern cliffs, the place glowing on her holographic map. To something buried deep under this moon, he said. Something deadly enough that an army came to get it. A sudden shockwave hit the ground as the first enemy ships landed, sending a blast of dust and lightning across the outpost. The girl grabbed Rian's jacket, shaking. What do we do? Rian pulled her behind the remains of a broken transport vehicle, his eyes sharp, his voice calm despite the chaos. We run, he said. We stay alive. And we find out what they're so afraid you might remember. The sky burned red. The ground trembled. The war for the girl had begun. And humanity, once again, stood in the middle of a storm no one else could survive. The sky burned with crimson light as alien warships dropped through the storm like glowing meteors. Captain Rian Hale pushed the girl behind a shattered wall, shielding her from the shockwave of another landing craft slamming into the outpost. Dust rained down. Ground cracked. Lights flickered violently. But the girl's focus wasn't on the destruction. It was on her bracelet, now glowing brighter than ever, humming with a rising tone that vibrated through her bones. Rian, she whispered. It's pulling me. It wants me to go to that place. Rian steadied his breathing. That place, the northern ridge, what's waiting there? I don't know, she said, voice shaking. But it feels alive. He didn't like the sound of that. Before he could respond, a loud metallic clang echoed across the courtyard. Rian spun around, rifle raised. A squad of hunters emerged from the smoke, tall, armored, moving in perfect formation. Their helmets glowed red, their weapons aimed forward. Target signal located, one of them hissed. Retrieve the asset. Human resistance irrelevant. Rian muttered, over my dead body. He grabbed the girl's hand and sprinted toward a ruined supply tunnel. The hunters opened fire. Blue plasma ripped through the air, shattering metal beams around them. The girl stumbled. Rian lifted her in one motion and dove behind a cargo crate as plasma bolts exploded overhead. Her bracelet flashed again, this time projecting a faint memory. A lab. White walls. Voices speaking in a language she didn't know, yet somehow understood. Subject identity. Kulra, 7. Neural imprint incomplete. The girl's eyes widened. Cal-Ra? The name rolled off her tongue as if she had spoken it 1,000 times before. Rian turned to her, shocked. Is that your name? She clutched her head, overwhelmed. I don't know. Maybe. Why can't I remember anything? Because someone forced the memories out, Rian said. Maybe to protect you, or maybe to use you. A sudden crash behind them cut their conversation short. The hunters were closing in fast. Rian checked his surroundings. The supply tunnel was unstable. The ceiling half collapsed, but it was their only route toward the ridge. He grabbed a rusted lever and yanked it down. The tunnel doors groaned open. Move, Rian ordered. They slipped inside just as the hunters reached the entrance. The tunnel lights flickered on, revealing old mining rails leading deep into the moon's crust. The girl, Kulra, held the wall for support. Her bracelet hummed again, then pulsed, sending a thin wave of light along the tracks. The rails responded. Metal plates slid open. Buried engines roared to life. A forgotten transport capsule rolled out from the darkness, glowing with the same blue energy as her bracelet. Rian stared. That's ancient tech. Pre-colonial. Human teams never managed to activate it. I didn't do it, the girl whispered. It activated because of me. Rian helped her climb inside. As soon as they entered, the doors sealed. A voice spoke, soft, mechanical, but not hostile. Primary conductor recognized. Route unlocked. Proceeding to the core gate. The girl's breath caught. The core gate, what is that? Rian didn't know. But the capsule shot forward before he could answer, blasting down the tunnel with terrifying speed. The walls blurred. Light streaked past. The hum in the girl's bracelet deepened. Then, a new memory flickered. Not a lab this time. Not machines. Something older. A massive chamber of stone and metal. A glowing sphere pulsing with blue fire. Voices screaming. Systems failing. A planet shaking apart. The girl gasped and collapsed against Rian. This power, this core. I've seen it. Before I fell. Before the crash. Rian held her tightly. Tell me what you saw. A weapon, she whispered, trembling. Or maybe a prison. Something that should never be opened. Rian's heart dropped. And your creators? What were they trying to do with it? Her eyes met his, glowing with fear and a truth she didn't want to know. They didn't build me to run from it, she said slowly. They built me to wake it. The capsule jolted as the tunnel ahead widened into a gigantic cavern. Ancient machinery glowed in the darkness. Energy pulsed in the air. And at the center, a massive sealed structure shaped like a dormant heart, waited for someone with her signal. Rian whispered, voice low and grim. They made you a key, for a weapon that could burn worlds. The girl trembled. Outside in the tunnels, enemy warships dug deeper, closing in. The core gate began to glow. The ancient cavern pulsed with a cold blue glow, lighting the curved walls like the inside of a giant metallic heart. Captain Rian Hale stepped out of the transport capsule, his boots sinking into fine dust that hadn't been disturbed in centuries. The girl, Kulra, stood beside him, staring at the massive sealed structure at the center. The core gate. It rose like a dark tower, covered in spinning rings, shifting runes, and pulsing veins of alien energy. Every time her bracelet pulsed, the entire structure responded, like it was breathing with her. Kulra hugged her arms, shivering not from the cold, but from the weight of a truth she didn't fully understand. Rian, she whispered, this place knows me. That's what scares me, he muttered. He scanned the cavern, eyes sharp. No hunters yet, but above them, he could still feel the vibrations of invading ships. The enemy was digging through the moon's surface to reach them. Time was running out. Kulra walked closer to the gate. Each step she took caused rings on the structure to rotate. Symbols lit up in perfect sync with her heartbeat. Rian followed quickly. Stop. Don't get too close. We don't know what it does. She turned, eyes glowing softly. It's calling me. I can't ignore it. The moment her hand brushed the surface of the gate, a shockwave burst outward. Rian staggered back, shielding his face. Kulra cried out as the cavern filled with floating holograms. Memories, lives, flashes of worlds she had never visited yet somehow recognized. A voice echoed through the chamber. Not mechanical, not alien. Something ancient. Primary conductor identified. Kulra, 7. Activation sequence ready. Rian grabbed her shoulders. Listen to me. You don't have to activate anything. You're not their tool. But Kulra's eyes weren't focused on him. She was lost in the holograms. He turned to look, and his heart froze. The holograms showed a species of tall, elegant beings with silver skin, the Arkle. a vanished race known only from fragments of ruined archives. They were scientists, explorers, but the final images showed fire, collapsing stars, dying planets. Then came the truth. The Arkle built a machine, a failsafe, buried on this moon. A weapon designed to collapse an entire system if an enemy empire ever rose too powerful. A world ender. And beneath the destruction, a final message. We create Kulra series to hold the key. Memory wiped. Signal locked. Only to be used if all else fails. Kulra staggered back, horrified. No, I'm not a weapon. I can't be. Rian held her arms tightly. You're not. A tool doesn't fight back. A weapon doesn't cry. A machine doesn't fear hurting people. Her voice cracked. But the hunters, the warships, they're not here for me. They're here to use me. And that's why they can't have you, Rian said, voice firm. Before either could react, the entire cavern shook. A massive explosion ripped through the tunnels above. Stone rained down. Dust filled the air. Rian pulled Kulra behind a pillar as a landing craft smashed into the upper ledge of the cavern. Metal tore apart. Flames erupted. And through the fire, the hunters arrived. But these weren't the small patrol units from earlier. These ones were larger, heavily armored, eyes burning with crimson hate. The lead hunter pointed directly at Kulra. Subject Kulra, 7. Approach the core gate. Complete activation. Kulra backed away, voice trembling. I won't destroy anything. Your refusal is irrelevant, the hunter hissed. We will force compliance. Rian raised his rifle. You'll have to go through me first. The hunters aimed their weapons. But before they fired, the core gate pulsed, hard. Kulra screamed as a surge of energy shot up her arm, engulfing her bracelet. The gate awakened. The rings spun faster. Symbols burned with blinding blue light. The ground cracked. Rian grabbed Kulra, trying to pull her away, but the gate's magnetic force wrapped around her like invisible chains. Her feet lifted from the ground. Rian, help me, she cried. I've got you, he shouted, pulling with everything he had. But the gate was stronger. Then, out of nowhere, the cavern darkened as a massive shadow covered the opening above. A colossal alien dreadnought descended through the broken cavern roof, engines shaking the moon's crust. Its voice boomed through external speakers. All units, do not let the conductor escape. The core must be awakened. The hunters charged. Kulra screamed louder. The gate pulled harder. Her bracelet cracked, sending sparks of blue light into the air. Rian held on, refusing to let go, even as his muscles tore and his strength faded. No, he roared. You don't belong to them. And then, something inside Kulra snapped. Not physically, something inside her mind. Her eyes burned bright white. Her hair lifted as if caught in a storm. Energy spiraled from her body, slamming into the hunters, throwing them across the cavern like rag dolls. The core gate shook violently. But Kulra wasn't unconscious. She wasn't controlled. For the first time since she fell from the sky, she was in control. She turned her glowing eyes toward the dreadnought. I won't let you use me, she whispered, voice echoing with power. Rian stared at her, shocked, terrified, amazed. Kulra lowered her hands, and the entire cavern trembled. The final battle had begun. The cavern shook so violently that dust fell like gray rain. Captain Rian Hale shielded his eyes as Kulra stepped forward, glowing brighter than the core gate itself. Her feet hovered above the ground, her hair rising in white light, her voice echoing with a mixture of fear and determination. The dreadnought above them opened its massive jaw-like bay. Rows of cannons aligned, each glowing with crimson fire. Conductor, awaken the core. Its voice thundered through every crack of the cavern. Kulra trembled. Her bracelet sparked violently, threatening to burst apart. Rian pushed himself to his feet, fighting the tremor in his muscles. Kulra, stop. Don't listen to them. She turned, tears glowing on her cheeks. Rian, if they force me to wake this thing, every world in this system will die. Rian stepped closer, ignoring the pain. Then we don't let them force you. You choose what happens. Not them. You. Before she could respond, the hunters recovered. 3 of them leaped into the air, claws extended, aiming straight for Kulra. Rian moved first. He didn't think. He didn't hesitate. He charged into the path of the hunters, firing a burst of rifle shots that cracked the air. One hunter fell. Another sliced at him. Sparks flew as metal scraped his armor. He staggered but didn't stop. The third hunter dove at Kulra, only to be blasted backward by a shockwave of white energy from her fingertips. She gasped. She hadn't even meant to do it. The cavern lights flickered wildly. The core gate hummed louder, higher, sharper. A deep boom echoed from within the gate, like something ancient was waking up. Kulra clutched her chest, voice breaking. It's pulling me again. I can feel it, trying to take my mind, trying to take everything. Rian grabbed her shoulders. Then fight it. Fight them. Fight the voice. Fight the machine. You are more than what they built. Her eyes widened. Rian, I'm scared. I know. He placed his hand over her shaking one. But fear means you're alive. Fear means you're not a weapon. You're a person. Another thunderous roar came from above as the dreadnought charged its cannon. A beam of red light formed at its core, humming with death. Rian pulled Kulra close. We end this. Now. Before they end everyone. How? She whispered. What do I do? Rian pointed at her bracelet, now cracked and pulsing. That thing connects you to the core gate. But you're stronger than it. You can break the connection. Shut it down. Destroy it. Her eyes widened in horror. If I break it wrongly, it could explode. It could tear this moon apart. Rian didn't blink. Then trust yourself. For the first time she did. Kulra turned toward the gate. Her heartbeat echoed through the cavern. The rings around the core rotated faster, faster, struggling to pull her in. She raised her hands. I am not your key, she whispered. I am not your weapon. Her voice deepened, filled with a power not given by machines, but born from choice. I am. Kulra. The cavern erupted with blinding white light. The bracelet shattered. The gate shrieked. Yes, shrieked, as if in pain. Its rings stopped mid-spin. Its energy flickered, then collapsed inward like a dying star. The dreadnought above screamed in metallic rage. Conductor's signal lost. Core deactivation. No. Its power systems flickered. Engines failed. The massive ship lost its hold and slammed onto the cavern rim, sliding and breaking apart like a wounded beast. Explosions rippled across its hull. Kulra fell to her knees, exhausted, shaking violently. The glowing light around her faded into soft violet. Rian rushed to her, catching her before she hit the ground. You did it, he whispered, voice trembling with disbelief. You stopped it. Kulra looked up weakly. Did I save them? The system, the people, your world? Rian smiled, a tired, proud smile. You saved all of us. The cavern's ceiling began to crumble. The shockwaves of the collapsing dreadnought traveled through the stone. Rian lifted Kulra into his arms and carried her toward the mining lift. You're going to be okay, he whispered as dust rained on them. You're safe now. She rested her head against his shoulder. Rian, what happens to me now? He stepped into the lift, pulling the lever as the cavern shattered behind them. You get to choose, Rian said softly. For the first time in your life, your future belongs to you. The lift rose through the crumbling tunnels, carrying them out of the darkness as the ancient core gate died behind them. Above ground, the storm had cleared. The red clouds faded. The sky opened with calm silver light. Kulra breathed slowly, gently, peacefully. She was free. Rian looked at the sky, then at the girl who had saved millions. And he whispered, let's get you home.